So hello, I'm back again with another update on my 2006 Chevy Impala SS restoration project. Another little progress video, and got a few things done since last time. I think when I last left off I had the inner rocker panel installation done, the inner rocker panels, but that was all. And well, now I have my homemade reinforcement rails for the rocker panels are installed, and those are all tied in. They're tied in A, B, and C pillar, tied in there, and very strong. The chassis, the body is actually resting on it now. This is all back together. Very solid. I think I can give it the "that ain't going nowhere" blessing, and much stronger than the OEM arrangement. This is what's left of one of the original reinforcements. This is actually the opposite side, so you're looking at the left-hand side here, and this is the right-hand side reinforcement. But you know, that's what the factory had in there. Basically, it's built up heavier towards the front because it's a front-wheel drive vehicle, and so that's where it needs all the strength. And I cut some of that off of there. So it's not all there. I cut the very top of it off and fitted the top of it to these reinforcement rails that I made out of 1/8" wall 2x4 structural tubing. And it's basically this tubing is like pretty much the same stuff you'd make an automotive frame out of. So much stronger than that old flimsy thing. And you can see how these pinch welds, this is a triple ply now, because the piece that I stole off of that reinforcement down there welded to this, and then it comes up through the middle and it makes a 3-ply sandwich all the way across. And so that's all squared away, and these pinch welds are all completed now. And also that gap you see in there, that's factory. That's exactly how GM built it too. This whole thing came from the factory. This area was just filled in with caulk. So it's all welded together in a triple sandwich right there. So basically this whole thing is tied together. The whole side of the vehicle is tied onto this, and very strong. And as you can see, anyway, I got the whole back half together. Trunk floor is in there. Tubs are in there. Let me get my light. So, yeah, I don't know, take a look at it from this side. You know, looks like a car again back there. Trunk floor is in. That stuff is all, a lot of work done there. Wheel tubs are in. Let's have a look at it from this side. So yeah, there's wheel tubs are all welded in, and everything. This whole assembly has all been finished out. It's all completely one piece, and you know, got everything here. Like, you know, there's a pinch welds here where the trunk floor comes in and sandwiches to these pieces, and that's all buttoned up solid, both sides, and nice and straight. And you know, a lot of welding had to be done in here. You know, getting my head in here with a helmet, trying to see what you're doing. And yeah, like I can tell you, a lot of these welds were done blind. I could see where the end of the Tweco gun was, but I couldn't see the arc. So you just go in there and you feel your way in, and you see these welds up above, like right here, and there's more. There's a whole string of them. There is a whole string of them right here, and a couple of more up here, and that's all in the roof of the outer tub. And what that does on both sides, there's like a wing that comes off of the package tray, and that top of that outer tub has to be tied into that. Well, that's all done. And oh yeah, this area right around here, this fuel door, what you see here, this is 3M panel adhesive. It's pretty good stuff. It works great. So basically there's a whole area that goes around this. It's like about a good, 2 inches wide all the way around this, and that's to secure the quarter panel, the outer quarter panel. The fuel door is going to mount here, and this needs to be completely solid, secured with panel adhesive. That's how it came from the factory too. I had to chisel all that loose in there in order to get that old wheel tub out of here without wrecking the quarter panel, and that was a job. And then so when I put it back together, so now this whole thing is just it's solid. It's not hollow. It's not hollow in there at all. It's solid, and that's got to be a solid foundation for the fuel door mounts there. When that fuel door's swinging open and everything, you don't want that thing flexing the quarter panel. Well, it's not. It's totally solid. This is the stuff. This is the stuff you use right here. This 3M panel bonding adhesive, and there's different kinds of this stuff you can buy too. You've got this other stuff they just call universal, and I wasn't sure which one I wanted to use. They have very different curing rates. It's a two-part, so that's why you got to have this double-barreled caulking gun, and it shoots it out. You use a mixing nozzle. This mixing nozzle goes on there, and it mixes through the nozzle, so by the time it comes out, it's mixed, and it shoots right out of there mixed, and it's ready. It's activated. And anyways, this stuff, this says work time 90 minutes, clamp time 4 hours, and bond time 24 hours. And then this other stuff is much faster acting. We're talking 3 minutes work time, 30 minutes clamp time, 4 hour finish bond. And I used the slow stuff. And yeah, that was definitely the smart play. Didn't even use it all either. This is about halfway used up, maybe 2/3. And used the slower stuff, clamped it in place. It gave me time to get that, because you got to get that panel in place, and you got to get it all situated. So you need some time to move it around and stuff. And I got it all situated. So yeah, it's completely bonded in place, and that stuff holds too. I can tell. It's really good stuff. 3M usually makes pretty good stuff. If it ain't as good as you'd like, well, I'd like to know where you're going to find better, but it's usually professional grade stuff. So anyways, yeah, what you see here, this piece here is just resting in here right now. This is the final. This is actually a structural member. This kind of boxes the whole thing in. So this is just resting in place right now. It is not installed. It's just fitted. It will need to be clamped, and the way I got to do this is with bolts. That's why I left all the holes in there, and the holes are in the floor pan too. And you basically got to get some nuts and bolts and washers and just draw this thing up. You pick a couple of spots, and you draw it up with bolts as tight as you can get it, and then pick a couple spots in between and fill it in. Fill the welds in and keep repeating that process, and just keep bolting it down, drawing it up, and work your way across. I've already done that with a couple other cross members I'll show you, but I don't have a clamp that can reach all the way in there, so I'm gonna take this thing out of here and show you what's underneath. All my repair work, I'm gonna have to take this out of here one side at a time. So anyway, there you go. And so yeah, here's the other side where my, both sides, the vehicle's resting on these reinforcements, and it's all tied into the tubs. And yeah, I got a whole lot of work in there too. And so anyway, here's my floor repair. This was all gone. I had nothing to work with there. That was see what you're looking at, this here that comes down in a Z bend and ends right here. Well, originally this was just a continuation of the trunk floor. Okay, the whole trunk floor just kept coming down. The stamping of the trunk floor just came down here and cascades and comes down here and finishes out here, and it overlapped here. And this was all gone. And the reason why that was all gone is because it was all basically entombed inside of this piece and hidden, and it was rusting away. And I'll talk about that more, about how these things can rust away on you and you don't even know it. But so I had to rebuild all that. I had to make pieces that would just join up here and follow the contour, and I had to do a lot of hammering and everything. Looks don't matter. This is all hidden. It's just got to be strong, and it is. It's strong and solid, and it just completes everything. So that's basically completed the whole back half. These pieces that come down from the package tray have been put back into place. You got 5 spot welds there, 2 more there. There's like a series of 4 of these. This goes right to the tub here, and another series of them over here. So that the whole front of the tub ties in to this here, and the package tray is all tied in everything. And like I said, the top of the outer tub is tied in to a wing. I don't know if you can see it in there. You can probably see that. You can see it in there maybe, I don't know, but there's a wing that comes over the top of the outer tub, and that's tied into there too. That whole darn thing is tied in there, and it's actually I like the way GM engineered it. It's pretty well made and solid, rigid. And anyways, by the time this thing gets welded back, this is heavy. This thing is like oh man, it's at least 18 gauge, maybe a little heavier. This thing that's not just like body panel metal. That's much thicker, and it acts as a structural member once that thing is sitting on top of here, and it basically makes a box over this whole thing and goes all across, and it's tied to both rockers here, and it's tied both to the rear trunk floor and the cabin floor, and basically so it forms a boxed cross member all the way across there. And gee, I don't know. Here we go. So anyway, yeah, that's what it looks like from up above. Now that I finished out my floor and go underneath here, look at some stuff under here. So that's what it looks like from the underside. Finished all that stuff out, and here's my new subframe rails. Rear subframe rails are all in there, and there's just like, oh man, there's just literally hundreds of welds had to be made in here. Just clamping, welding, clamping, welding, more clamping, more welding. It never ends. But yeah, it's all put together. You can see here, this is where those 2 wings that come down from the package tray on the front, that's where those welds are coming through. That's basically their way of telling you that I got good penetration there. And that's all welded and solid. And here's my little thing. I talked about this before. This bolt, it threads in. It threads into, right there, you see it go through. It threads into a nut that's welded to that cross member. And by the way, this is how I intend to finish out the bottom. I don't need to have a bottom skin anymore. I'm just going to finish out the bottom by, I'm just going to have a piece of angle stock that goes from here down to here, 90 degrees, and makes that pinch weld. That's going to be the very last thing. Everything's going to be done, and by the time I'm ready to button that up, then I close that gap down there and just, you know, it makes a flat surface under there for me, and that the looks don't matter because there is a plastic beauty cover that covers, it finishes out the rocker. So what this looks like underneath there is irrelevant. And anyway, so my little bolt here, which this is still loose. It's threaded in there and it turns, and this will be like one of the very last things I do after this is all finished out. This will be turned in and just tight and snug. So it's got a little tension on it, welded tight. And I got that on both sides, and that's to help tie in this this rear subframe rail here where it comes up, because the suspension components bolt on here. There's the two longitudinal control arms. There's a bracket that goes there, and so it just helps tie everything in and make it even more rigid. I think it's much stronger and much more rigid than GM originally built it. So here's where my the very front flange terminates, and it's welded to the floor up here. It's welded to my patch here, which is all nice and solid. It does that on both sides, and you know, there's just a whole lot of welds here. And so this cross member here, it's all welded from the top. So what you're seeing here, that's the, you know, that's the burn through, and this is all going to need to be, before I go any further with this, it needs to be have all of the cracks and crevices everywhere, just everything under the sun. Cracks, crevices, hidden areas will all be shot full of frame shot. And then once I'm all done with that, the whole darn thing will get, you know, sanded down with abrasive wheels and whatnot. So all of the burn paint will be sanded away, and then the whole thing will be sanded. Just resand the whole darn thing and coat the whole darn thing with slather coat one more time. And I'm going to worry about that once I get it on a rotisserie. So, you know, this is where the rear suspension support cradle bolts on to those two bolts. There's two there, and there's, you know, two on the other side, and that's already been fitted on there. I have a brand new one of those, and you know, the rear subframe rails continue on to the end panel there, and that's all finished out. And this rear cross member here, it ties to the two subframe rails and goes across, and that's all finished out. And I added a reinforcement to the inside of this. I put some thick stock on the inside of this and made it strong so that I can jack the vehicle from here. I used to do it when it wasn't reinforced, and now it's reinforced, so it can be used as a jacking point from the rear if I want. And so yeah, that's what we got going on under here. And it's all put back together, and I'll tell you, you know, life is good when you've got all this stuff you can buy brand new. Okay, I was able to get all of these subframe rails and all of these components, and this thing here, this cross member is new, and you know, you can pick up all of that stuff new and just you know, coat it inside and out, weld it on there, and it's a whole lot easier than if I had to recondition it, you know, because I did have one part over here that you know, what you're looking at right over there, that inside rocker, I had to repair that because it could not be obtained. GM just they didn't have it, and they did have it for the left side, but not for the right side. So, but what if I had to repair everything you know, and I would have if I had to. But yeah, boy, that would really, you know, all of the tubs and everything. So it's a whole lot easier when you can just get all this stuff new. So I guess, I don't know, we've been in here and everything, and you know, I also, well, haven't been in this side. This side's not exactly the same. This side does not have a fuel door opening, and it's shaped differently, but you know, similar in a lot of ways. And these pinch welds, you got to get your head in there and you know, all the way around in there. And yeah, when you got a helmet on your head and you can't fit in there, and it's pretty cramped. So anyway, but I managed, and you know, like I say, all these pinch welds here, these will have to be shot full of frame shot. So I'll be going in there from the other side and just shooting frame shot all through this, everything there, everywhere there's a pinch weld. And you can see my measurements here, where I was writing down. I was taking measurements from each bolt hole. Okay, this is where the McPherson strut, basically this is like a shock tower here. And those three, so I took careful measurements from here, from, you know, from the hole to a fixed point up above, which is, I had a fixed reference point that's undisturbed, and that's that package tray up there. And so I did that on both sides to make them match, because that's basically, that's going to ensure that that's where the ride height comes from, and you want to make sure that's level. They're both at the same height. And that's how you make sure you got them both in nice and even. Yeah, you measure them out, and you know, they're both in there perfectly level and even, like, you know, to within about a 1/16 of an inch at least. So yeah, that's how you take due care for that. You know, and you know, look at that package tray. There's, you know, the oval holes for 6x9 speakers that go in there, and I think that square hole you could probably put a subwoofer in there. Even though I don't have one, but that's something to worry about later. And so anyway, yeah, and then so yeah, like I say, the whole darn back end is finished out. The welding and all of that stuff, that's all done. The only thing left in here now is paint work, and I'll get around to that. And that's gonna start out with frame shot on all the crevices, wipe out the excess, then go in there and just sand everything down, and then recoat the whole darn thing. And you know, there's some other things I did, like these here. These used to be removable plugs. They've been welded shut. So there's another one there. I welded that in. That's been welded shut. And what those used to be is these things here. And here's one that hasn't been taken out yet. So they just go there and they put some kind of adhesive caulk over the top of it. Well, these suck. These are real flimsy metal, and they're rusty, and you don't want to leave these in there. These are not drain plugs. What these are process holes. Basically, when they make this thing, they, you know, when they built it at the factory, this thing is put on a giant fixture where everything, you know, and that's the other thing. They don't build it one piece at a time like I'm doing over here. That's the hard way, okay? They got the whole darn thing, everything. It's all clamped in one big fixture, and then they just go at it with robotic, you know, spot welds and everything. And that's what these holes are for. These are for locations and clamping. The same, you see holes over there and holes over there, you know, on that panel over there, and that stuff is that's all process holes. It's location. And so anyway, well, we don't need this anymore, and I would not preserve this. I recommend getting rid of these. So that's why you take these out, and you just weld something solid in there, and be done with it. And then here's another thing. The very front where this ties into the A-pillar. This is my structural reinforcement, and then this is actually 2 plies. I don't know if you can see this, but there's 1 ply, and this is heavy stuff right here. There's 1 ply that it just goes all the way up in there, and then there's another ply that comes down, and it's made out of the same heavy gauge stuff, and it just sandwiches right under this. And this whole thing was spot welded together. So right here, I have something that needs to be finished out. And there was a whole bunch of spot welds here. They're filled in. And here's what goes here. Got another piece of metal. I cut this off. And I had to cut it off to gain access. And then so that's got to all go back together like that. You can see it just fits together like a jigsaw puzzle. I got to weld that all back in. So all of these holes, these had corresponding spot welds that went all the way through the whole sandwich, and had to be drilled out. This stuff is like about maybe 14 gauge, and so is this piece. So it's doubled up, and it goes up into it goes up into the A-pillar, and it just makes the whole thing extra strong. So that's got to all be tied in to my reinforcement. Well, the first layer is, and I got to tie in the second layer, and it's all tied in front too. You can see there's probably, you see where a spot weld was filled in there, and there was a bunch of holes there that were filled in, a bunch of spot welds there. Well, I'll show you. I did the other side already. So what I showed you on that side, that's been done right here. This is that piece. This had to be done in 2 steps. So first I welded that first ply, that first layer, to this. Then I threw this on top of there, and this had to be all welded all across there. Plus there was a whole mess of holes. There's probably about 15 odd holes here, and you have to weld to the front of the thing, so it comes down here, and so it's all together. So this is done. So what I showed you on the other side that's waiting to be done, this is done on this side. And like right over here too, this is my new rear suspension support. That's also real nice to have, brand new from GM, because the old one, it looks about like that. These pieces I have to make. These cannot be obtained from GM. These are I'll show you where those goes, but this here is this has already been fitted in. It matches up. There's the 4 holes, 2 on each side to those cross members. They have captured nuts in there. That takes that's like a 12 millimeter bolt. That there's 4 of them. Holds that in place. That's for your control arms, your transverse control arms to mount the rear suspension. And yeah, so what else we got here? Well, yeah, here's another little thing. This is to the people who think, they get a car and they say, well, I'm not going to have mine rust because I'm going to undercoat it and I'm going to shoot fluid film on it and all this stuff. Well, I'm going to show you why you might not be, you might be mistaken about that. And here's the reason why. This is that center tunnel piece. I basically replicated this here in my own way, in my own style, but this went right there. Okay, this is the original piece, and as you can see, it's junk. And GM did it a different way than I did, but you still get the same outcome. Well, what I'm trying to get across here, this is the inside. Okay, this is the side that's not facing the road. Okay, look at how rusted it is. Okay, now here's the side that is facing the road. Okay, and it's got all the road dirt on it. Well, what I want to show you, it's got my undercoating on it. Okay, you can see where it looks gray because it's got dust, road dust all stuck to it. But you can see where it's black here, and I thoroughly undercoated this car when I brought it home new. I'm the original owner, and I was thinking the same thing. I'm going to undercoat it, right? Well, you can see the undercoating is knocked off. The reason why is I whacked it with a hammer from above, and I already knew I was going to take this thing off. I whacked it with a pick hammer, okay? And everywhere I whacked it with a pick hammer, my undercoating cracked off. But you can see my undercoating was doing its job. It protected. This is that original gray primer that if it's exposed to anything, it'll just rust right through in a few years. Well, it didn't. And this is, like I said, this is the side that faces the road. Okay, this is the side that I could not get at because it is basically entombed under this. Okay, and this here too is another piece of the same area. It goes right there. So this is this is their relationship right there. Okay, that's how those two parts went roughly. Okay, and what this is, I cut this out. This is just a section of the trunk floor that I cut it out. And the reason why I cut it out is just to save it for shape in case I needed to replicate the shape. And I ended up not needing it, but I had it. But and again, this is the side that's inside facing the interior. This is the side that faces the road, and it's the same exact outcome, okay? It's got my undercoating on it. I cracked most of that undercoating off by manhandling it and hammering on it and stuff. So most of that undercoating is off, and what you see there is clean factory primer because the undercoating did its job. I undercoated it, and for the most part, it protected it. And I did the same thing to this metal here, the same exact thing. This all here, everything. This, like I say, this was just one big continuous assembly here. These two pieces, that two pieces was one big assembly here, and these were gone. They were just rusted away, gone, unsavable. I whacked these with a pick hammer from the outside, and these, the pick hammer just made holes right through it. It was like beer can, tin foil. Okay, and because it was rusted from the inside, okay? The side out, the side out here, the side that faced the road, I undercoated that, and it looked fine, okay? It looked fine when you got underneath it. The whole damn thing was undercoated. And as you can see, too, this belly pan is undercoated, and it held up good because, it's a different affair because of the way the carpet sat on it and everything, but in this hollow space, okay? In this hollow space under here, everything, this rusted through, this rusted badly, and this rusted through, and all the rust came from the inside. That's the point I'm trying to get across. It all came from the inside. So, if you have a car and you think you're gonna undercoat it or fluid film it every year and all that stuff, yeah, sure, that's great, but what about all these hidden areas? And the same goes the rocker panels, okay? That stuff is all gone and largely rotted from the inside. Of course, yeah, once it's breached, and then everything goes really fast, but it rusted from the inside. Well, the thing I'm trying to get across, there was no way to coat this in here without basically stripping the interior out of, to gain access to those rockers and everything. Well, I would have at least had, you got to have the back seat and the carpet out of here. And, you basically got to have the seats and the carpet out and everything. And you got to find these hidden areas. And, well, if you don't, this is what you get, okay? Like I said, the damn thing is not even looking at road spray, and look what it does, because look at how useless that factory primer is, okay? That's how useless it is, okay? And, this is heartbreaking kind of stuff. I had no idea what was waiting for me under here, I knew I was going to have some work to do, but yeah, you get this thing apart and you find out, holy cow, it's like 10 times worse than I thought it was ever going to be, because all of this stuff's going on. I memean, if I had known, okay, then I could have stripped the interior out of this thing, and I could have took measures, and that's what it would take. And everywhere, like areas like that there, inside of there, like that there, inside of there, like that there, inside of there, and that stuff, you can't access that stuff without stripping the whole interior out. You basically got to have a bare shell. So what it would take would be to bring this thing home new and then just put it on a lift and start stripping it bare and get in here. Well, who wants to do that with their new car? Well, that's what I'm telling you, man. This is the kind of stuff that's waiting for you. It's sad but true. Okay, don't kill me. I'm just a messenger. I'm telling you, this is how it happened. Unless I could have got on the inside of here, and I could have, I could have got through holes like this, and you'd have to have an inspection camera. You'd have to go in there and shoot. And then you got to look at the camera, find the places you missed, go in there, shoot some more. Well, I know how to do all that now. I did it on the truck too, and and this is gonna get this stuff will be very thoroughly coated, multiple times by the time. It'll be coated before I weld it together, and then because there will be burns in here, it's going to be frame shot through here, both sides, and then it's going to be coated again, the entire inside with frame shot, and so yeah. anyway, I guess I've gone on long enough, and so you get the idea. So that's what I got going so far. And like I said, the whole back half. Yeah, here, the next thing up is front subframe rails. That's so yeah. That's, and this is that area that that those pieces there, right and left, they go in this area, and they have to be bent, and they make a wing that goes from here over to the rocker panel, and it's just more reinforcement sandwiches on there, and I got to make those. But yeah, the next thing up is front subframe rails, and so they you know, they go all the way from the bumper, and you know, this piece here is called an extension, and that's not part of the rail. The rail actually ends right there. Okay, and then there's another couple feet, and so there's where the front subframe rail extensions, right adjacent, just diagonally adjacent to where the rear subframe rail, the front of that and the rear of that, and they bridge over in this transitional area. And like I showed you, that piece above bridges over that, over these two areas, and just makes the whole thing continuously supported. So that's the next thing. This is all have to come out. I got a lot of spot welds to drill out, and I have to actually save this, but it's savable. It's solid. I can't get the extensions. I can only get the subframe rails, which that's the tail end of it right there. So that's the next step. Those have to both be replaced, and here they are, new. So here's that's the end, what you're looking at, and the extension comes out of there. So I have to save the extension, and I got brand new subframe rails. Beautiful pieces, real nice to have. They're all buried under a million tools, but yeah, the next thing, these have already been scuffed down. I just need to clean them up, solvent clean them. They have to get slather coated, just like the rears did, and then those are going to get welded in, so that's next. So yeah, I guess that'll do it. I'll let you know how it all turns out. Thanks for watching. So long.